Will you watch the first half again?
Yeah.
Second half? Hi guys, welcome to Film Companion South. I have Ram with me and this is a super short review of Jailer.
We'll be discussing spoilers, right?
Yeah.
Okay. What are your first thoughts on Jailer?
For me, Beast is a film I liked. You know, quite controversially, it's a movie that I've always liked. And the thing that I liked about Beast is how it's a very simple film. It's a very straightforward plot and all that. And this is for me a way more proper Nelson movie than Beast was. If you thought Beast was a compromise of the director's vision, this is way more clear-cut and strong in terms of a directorial vision. But
the second half.
The second half.
Yeah. Like we were talking, you have that Nelson thing, right? Nelson takes something so serious and he spins super funny and quirky sequences out of it. It's a serious situation, but we are laughing at it. That's like pretty much the first half of Jailer. Yeah. Whereas like something with the son, a grieving family, it's super serious and violent. It's a revenge tale in the first half. In the second half, when it becomes a heist film, it should have been funny. I mean, like, it's not a serious situation. It's a very chill, very quirky scenario, but that's where the film fumbles.
And I agree with you because what Nelson does is take a regular situation, like a obviously complicated in terms of what's happening and what the characters are facing, and then he's got a Nelson way of taking care of that situation. Yeah. In the second half, what you get is a Nelson way of doing it, and the Nelson style of taking care of a particular chunk of the movie, but that situation is so ridiculous or so over the top that you're not able to understand the subtleties of a Nelson movie. Yeah. And that's where it kind of goes out of hand, because I think the first half of Jailer is for me the best Tamil movie of this year. I had an amazing time. I thought it was Nelson in his peak game after a movie like Beast. But then what happened after that?
See, again, my theory is, I have to reiterate this. Serious situation works beautifully. Comedy is not working. And this I say because, you know, Nelson's screenplays are mission driven, right? In Coco, you have a mom who's dying from cancer and you have to save her. In Doctor, you have a kid that needs to be rescued from, from a human trafficking syndicate. Here, after through the midway, during interval, there isn't a mission for the protagonist. There is no objective, because whatever the revenge that we think, we feel like it's been sorted out. So when the second half begins and we get a flashback, guys, it's cool. It is super cool. But then 20 minutes into the second half, they are introducing this heist angle. Yeah. That Rajinikanth has to do something in a very Nelson-esque way, where he has to team up with a few quirky, eccentric, weird people. It sounds very interesting, but when you introduce that angle 20 minutes after second half starts, it just becomes a completely different film. There is no emotional connect whatsoever. And speaking of emotional connect, they tried to do something in the final 20 minutes with a family, with a character that I don't want to talk about. I personally liked it, but I liked the whole whatever that happened in the 20 minutes. But my problem is, you can't make a ridiculous film for decidedly ridiculous and decidedly silly film for 45 minutes and turn it into a family melodrama in the last 20 minutes. That transition was pretty jarring.
But tell me this, first half both of us enjoyed to the hilt, right? There couldn't have been a better first half for a film like this. We are fans of Nelson. We like pretty much all of his films before this. Yet why?
Apart from Beast, I don't like Beast.
I like Beast. I can't comment about that. So why is it that in the second half, even though pretty much the entire second half is also in that Nelson universe, why do you feel so tired? Why do we feel like it's not working anymore? Do you think we're tired of his brand of comedy? Are we tired of those kind of quirky characters like Red and Kingsley, those kind of actors coming and doing the same kind of a thing? Or do you feel like it's not in this movie, it doesn't belong in this movie?
In Jailer, what he does is, he expects us to look at Red and Kingsley and laugh. Yeah. So in Doctor, there is that wonderful sequence when the entire gang is being escorted to their death in a boat, and and every character gets a moment to be their ridiculous, funny self. There, that thought went into creating that funny moment in an incredibly dark situation. Here, I think it's just, he didn't have many ideas. what if, I mean, like, he had a broad idea, like a heist, a filmmaking, I mean, like, something like Tismar Khan guys, but he didn't have many ideas to, you know, explore those characters more.
And that randomness is not working, which is which used to be his signature, right? Remember how random it was in Kolamavu Kokila when there's a son-in-law character that just comes and says, I want to marry your sister. That's a pointless scene. It's so random, but it was hilarious. They've tried to do many of those kind of things here, but none of it has worked.
I might be complaining a lot, but I had a ball of a time watching the first half of the film, and that's because the writing is so clever in the first half. Be it Yogi Babu's character, there is a setup and payoff, even with that whole Bharatiyar.
Okay, but let's leave aside the problems that we had with the second half. Even in the second half, like we discussed, I loved the flashback. It was amazing. It was an amazing callback to a iconic Rajini black sheep scene.
It's done so well. I mean, like, see, if you think about it, it's a very simple, it's like easy mass, okay, low effort only, but the way they have done it, it's perfection.
Yeah. And another thing, like, I don't know if you see, there's a movie called Thambi Kendur. In that, it's an old 80s movie. In that, all the bad guys Rajini has to fight, they're like 4 bald men with big mustaches. So he's brought that back. I think he's brought that back from Thambi Kendur. So I love how he's done those references, pop culture stuff, and that's one of the many things I loved in the first half.
In the first half, if you see, I loved the fact that they demystified Rajinikanth. Rajinikanth is not treated as a star. Like, if you see Annathe, he's a larger than life guy. He goes to meet his sister, they stop the train and they give sweets to everybody in the train. So Rajinikanth doesn't do things like that in this film. He's going to multiplexes, he's going to the grocery store and bringing vegetables and all. It feels very good to see Rajinikanth in that zone, but you also know that Rajinikanth is going to do that Basha, that mass, so that payoff works really well. And the fact that Rajinikanth doesn't do any action directly throughout the film. There is one kick-ass, a super violent moment that happens in the first half, and you will know it when that happens. Apart from that, Rajini is just orchestrating things. That is why the interval sequence...
And that's the real mass, right? Like, if you're actually a kick-ass guy, if you're actually so powerful, you don't have to really get down and do all the dirty stuff. And it's finally a movie that addresses it. And I love the fact that he's not only like an aged figure, he's a pensioner.
I feel that mass always works when you hold back. And Nelson does it wonderfully. He holds back that moment so much that when it lands, you're not in your seat.
Okay, tell me about this. Leave Nelson the writer. What do you think of Nelson the director?
There's one shot in Jailer where a family is grieving and a mother and her son are sitting. We see their silhouette, and in one corner we see Rajini's shadow, and that's a 1 second shot, but so much craft went into, you know, realizing it. So Vijay Karthikeyan has done a fabulous work. You had strong feelings about the cameos.
I think that's a major spoiler, but for me the cameos were both quite disappointing.
Okay.
For you?
I think Nelson said during the audio launch that there are characters you need those characters for the story, but when you have stars play those characters, there is immediately that gravitas that they bring to that character, right? So in that sense, there are a couple of moments for which you need a Shiva Rajkumar. Mohan Lal's character, I don't have the same feeling, but for Shiva Rajkumar's moment in the end, you need a Shiva Rajkumar. But again, I wish that was done more tasteful, because it's basically a recreation of the interval sequence.
Okay, is Rajini back?
I think he is.
Is Nelson back?
For a little while. Then he went
for the
back.
first half. For the first half.
Yeah.
But compared to Beast, I think Nelson is back. I'm not able to say that confidently, but yeah, Nelson is back.
And what happened to the grandson?
Oh my God. Yeah, they forgot about him, no? Yeah.